Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, we did not have a live class because the internet there's an outage here, which makes us appreciate even more the things that we tend to take for granted, and also wonder how people managed back in the day when they didn't have when they had to be quarantined for other reasons, and we have so many I'm going to call it luxuries and abilities to connect and interact, and some we should never take them for granted. Which brings me to the topic of today's class, and that is saying thank you. We have a mitzvah in this week's parsha. It's a continuation of what went on in the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and later in the temple, and that is about the korbanos, the offerings that were brought. There was a carbon called carbon toida. Toida means thanks. If you know how to say thank you in Hebrew, it's toda rabah, right? Toda rabah means thank you. We're thanking Hashem for the good that He does for us. So there was a special offering in the Beis Hamikdash and in the Mishkan, and that was an offering called an offering of thanks. If somebody had an incident, an occurrence, an experience, and they managed to get out of it, they were saved, they were helped, you have a requirement, an obligation, a mitzvah to go to the Beis Hamikdash and bring a carbon taida, bring an offering of thanks, express your appreciation, express your thanks to Hashem for helping you, for saving you. So the Chaim on coffee. Now, the question here is, let's explore this a little bit first. We have four general things that you have to say thank you for to Hashem, that you have to bring a carbon taida. If somebody was in the desert, is traveling, the desert is a dangerous place, and not everyone that goes in there comes out there. Many things comes out from there. Many things could go wrong. And therefore we say that you need to thank Hashem after surviving or after finishing your journey and coming out safe. The second option is regarding the someone that was in jail. Someone that goes into jail, someone that gets arrested, someone that's in prison, heaven forbid. It's something which he has to thank Hashem and he gets out of it. It's not an easy transition, if you will. It's not about the transition as much as it is surviving being in jail. The third one is an ill person, somebody that was dangerously ill and was healed. He has to come and bring a taida offering, a thanks offering to Hashem. And the final one is people that travel through the sea. If you were traveling, and even today, if you fly over the sea, over the ocean, then you need to later thank Hashem for helping you and doing this. Now, in truth is that there's a verse in Tehillim which talks about these four things in Psalms from King David, and when he talks about those that go in the desert, and those that were in jail, and those that were healed, and those that were traveling through the ocean by boats back then, the Baal Shem Tov had a custom, and we have it in our Siddur, that every Friday evening, late afternoon, before we start Mincha, we say this kapitel of Tehillim before Pasach Eliyahu, and this is thanking Hashem for all the miracles that happened with us this past week. Everyone goes through things every day, and of course there are many miraculous things that transpire around us. Some of them we know, and we appreciate and we recognize, and some of them we don't even know about. But Hashem is watching us and protecting us, and we have this special verse, special psalm that we say to appreciate that, to recognize that. But I want to ask a question. Why is it so important that we thank Hashem? Very often if somebody gives you a gift or someone does a favor for you, and you come to them and you say thank you, the response to you very often is, don't worry about it, I just did what you wanted, it's my pleasure, no need to thank, etc. Whether they need the thanks or not is not as important as to their expression to you. They're definitely not, in most cases, sending you a notice, don't forget to thank me. Of course, we all appreciate it to be thanked. But when you have a mitzvah on the Torah that Hashem says, thank me when I saved you, it sounds a little bit like, let's just say, in a human interaction, it would be a little funny if I insisted that you thank me. I don't mean parents to children or teachers to students, where you need to train them and teach them, show them how to behave. But in general, it's something which, why does Hashem ask us to thank Him? And before I share the explanation here, I want to share with you a story. There was once a great rabbi, Rabbi Gattis, and when he was living in Vilna, he was a tremendous knowledgeable person, very, very scholarly. When he was 20 years old in Vilna, he was appointed to be part of the High Court, the Jewish High Court, Beis Din, as a dayan, as a judge. And later he moved to America, and eventually he was in Yerushalayim, survived the war. And one of his students in Israel, they saw how this great rabbi, this great teacher, the head of the whole yeshiva, really world-renowned, is outside watering the grass and the flowers outside either his house or the yeshiva. And they went over to him and they said, you have, thank God, so many students. We'd be happy to water your grass for you. It would be our honor to water your plants. Why are you, the rabbi, standing outside, and he wasn't so young anymore, and you're watering the grass? And he told them as follows. When I was going through the war and I was escaping, there were times that I was hiding in forests. I had nothing to eat. I literally survived of things that were growing, grass. I found some berries, certain types of grasses, which I was able to eat. That was my nourishment. That's how I survived. And to thank Hashem and to express my appreciation, I never take grass and flowers, trees for granted. And I see it as my way to say thank you, that I go and I pour and I water this grass. The concept and the mitzvah of thanking Hashem for everything that happens to us, and in the times of the temple to bring it literally a Todah offering, is not as much for Hashem as it is for us. It allows us the time, the focus to appreciate everything that's going on with us. When we take an offering and we bring it to the Beis HaMikdash, to the temple in Yerushalayim, and it costs money and it takes time, and we have to bring it onto the altar, it does something to us. It causes us to think, to recognize, and just for a moment to just forget about everything else that's going on around us and be thankful to Hashem for the good things that He does with us. It's also very interesting why this offering has to be eaten. You have one day, the day that you bring it, and the following night. Many other offerings, you have 2 days to eat them, a day, a night, and a day. Why is it that the Todah offering, the offering of thanks, you have less time to consume it? There's a beautiful verse from the Gerer Rebbe. He says that what happens? You have a big animal, and you have to finish it by the end of the night. So you're forced to call your friends, call your relatives, anyone that you know, and say, guys, help me finish this. Because you're not allowed to leave it over. It would be a violation of the law. As a result, you have a big party. So when you have 2 days and a night to eat it, okay, you sit around, you have X amount of meals, you do the meat this way, you do the meat that way, you finish your carbon on time. But when you have less time, you automatically have this big celebration. I want to thank Hashem that I made it through. He was healed, or I went through whatever the person went through. He's thanking Hashem. As a result of this law, you're forced to come back together and be stuck in that way, in a good way. But you're offering thanks in a public way. The idea of thanks and how it's helpful for us, it's not just us thanking Hashem, but it causes us to appreciate things, also applies between us and other people. When you have a relationship with somebody, when someone does something good for you, express appreciation. It's obviously it's the basic menschliche, normal thing to do. But more than that, it's so important for the relationship that even if things are not perfect, and nobody's perfect, but you're able to find those stuff that are good and you express appreciation, the effects of that are so powerful for yourself, for the other, and for the bond, for the connection that you guys have. There's a story the Gemara tells us about Reb Chia. Reb Chia was an Amira. The Gemara in Yevamos, Daf Samach Gimel Amud Beis, that's page 63b, tells us about this Reb Chia who suffered from his wife. Not sure exactly the details, but his wife gave him a miserable time. And things were very, very difficult. And he, well, he did not have an easy life. He was once walking with his nephew, Rav, very great scholar. We know him as Rav and Shmuel. They argue a lot throughout the Talmud, discuss, learn. But they were walking together, and he stopped off. I guess it was in a marketplace, and Rav Chia went to buy a gift, some type of piece of jewelry for his wife. Not only that, but he asked the shopkeeper or the person running the booth at the marketplace to wrap it up nicely. He wanted it to be in a nice wrapping, a gift box or a gift wrap. And his nephew Ra was very surprised. You're giving your wife a gift. She makes your life miserable, he said. Not only are you giving her a gift, but you're wrapping it up and you're making it nice. Why? She doesn't deserve it. And he says, deserve it? Who do you think raises my kids? Who do you think gave me this greatest gift of my children? And he went on and on to praise her, teaching his nephew that even though, in his case, again, I don't know the details, but there were issues, and she were issues. Let's say this in a respectable way. He was suffering as a result of her, but nonetheless, he didn't wipe away all of the good things that she did. He didn't just say, oh yeah, you deserve some credit. He went and bought her a gift for it. When we learn in the parsha about offering thanks to Hashem and the importance of it and the mitzvah of it, let's not forget that it's between us and God. And when we do that, we appreciate what goes on with us in our lives. And it's between us and others. Many of us are spending a lot of time together with family, with close family members, much more time consecutively than we normally do. And it could bring out certain, let's just say, tensions or things that you don't normally focus on, all of a sudden they're coming out. Any two people living together, our minds don't operate the same way, and therefore, the Gemara says, just like our faces are not the same, no two people look exactly the same, similarly, our minds don't operate the same way. We think differently. And therefore, you could be the greatest people, you could have the best relationship, you won't agree on everything. And when you're stuck together, it could be a little hard when those differences come up. And perhaps one of the answers to this is the Korban Todah, the offering of thanks. Take the time and express appreciation. Thank for the good things. Verbalize it, or write it, whatever your style is, but express it. Guys, have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry again that we missed yesterday, and I'm glad we're back. Please take a moment and subscribe, share, like, comment. I'd like very much if you could spread this around. And I'm looking forward to a good class tonight. With the help of Hashem, it's going to be on the topic of joy, optimism, and positivity. Have a great, productive day.